The October 11th, 2011 meeting, I don't know. Meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
President Adair.
Here.
Miss Andrews. Mr. Antelli. Mr. Barker. Mr. Baroth. Mr. Beebe. Mr. Cassetti. Mr. Colby. Mr. Daniele. Mr. Daniele. Mrs. Draw. Mr. Eckel. Mr. Esposito. Mr. Gamble. Mr. Gamina. Mr. Haney. Mr. Hanna. Mr. Hyder is excused. Mr. Howland. Miss Kaylee. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lightfoot. Mr. Monero. Mr. McCann. Mr. O'Brien. Dr. Quattro. Mr. Rocco. Mr. Tucciarello. Mrs. Valerio. Mr. Yolovich.
Would everybody please stay seated? And at this time, I'd like to have a moment of silent prayer. Legislator Saul Monero will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Monero.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You've received copies of the Journal of Day 10, September 13, 2011. Without exception, the journal stands as approved as submitted. There's a hearing loop in place tonight for those who would need assistance with hearing impairment. Anyone requesting assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic device in your possession, we would request that you silence them for the duration of the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are all in your folders at this time. At this time, I would like to welcome the newest addition to our legislative family, Legislator Esposito's daughter, Gracie Elizabeth. Congratulations. Legislator Esposito, I told you 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, what it would be like to have a daughter. You have now joined an elite club of having 2 daughters. I'm also in that club. I think there's other people that are in that club. You can have discussion and commiserate with us, I think, but congratulations. Thank you. Good. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce from our Parks Department, Mark Quinn. He was going to introduce to us the plan of the month.
Hi. Our plan of the month this month is Euonymus alatus, burning bush. That's the red shrubs up front here. It's got some of its other species here. The other shrubs up here are also euonymus, but I'm going to focus on the burning bush today. We brought it as shrub of the month today because, as you can see, its fall color is beautiful. If you plant these anywhere in full sun, they'll have a terrific red fall color, as you can see by the ones up front. But there's a lot of other interesting things about this specific shrub. I cut a piece out of the park before I came. If you look at the stem of this, they call it winged euonymus because it has these ridges. So even in the winter, it's actually a particularly interesting plant. Best right now, though. The color's phenomenal. If you plant it too much in the shade, it'll kind of stay green, but in full sun, it's really got a great red color. They're a little bit overused in the landscape industry. There's a lot of them out there. That's because they're a particularly tough shrub that adapts to a lot of conditions. So if you've got a tough site, it's a good shrub to use. Ideally, it likes an acid soil, but it'll grow in almost anything. The only thing it doesn't like is wet feet. You don't want to put it somewhere that's swampy or wet. Then it won't grow. Every other soil it seems to do pretty well in. It's got some real positives, of course, the winter color. It's easy to prune and shear. It's regularly sheared into hedges. It stands alone as a very nice, it has a nice kind of a vase shape when it's young, and then it gets to a rounded spreading shape as it gets older. So the shape is nice if it's standing all alone, but it's, like I say, it's regularly used to prune into a hedge. It's got a few downsides. One is it can be a little bit invasive. It actually can grow out of control in certain areas. Not so much in New York. We haven't seen too much around here. In Massachusetts, they actually don't let you plant winged euonymus because it's so invasive there, but not so much here. And again, it really is a very vigorous shrub. It does well in urban environments where the conditions are harsh. So you see it a lot out in plantings, and right now you'll drive around and see it along buildings and anywhere there's a lot of sun. It's brilliant red, very pretty shrub. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. This evening, we have several proclamations scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would John Waddick please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Carmen Gamina and Mary Valerio. Whereas John Waddick, a professor of engineering science and physics at Monroe Community College, has been promoted to the rank of distinguished teaching professor from the State University of New York. John is also the winner of the Association of Community College Trustees 2011 Northeast Regional Faculty Member Award. During his tenure as chair of the Engineering Sciences Department, he has doubled enrollment, revitalized engineering advisement, and brought national recognition to the program. And whereas the State University of New York awards the Distinguished Teaching Professor rank to honor those who have mastered teaching at the professional, undergraduate, and graduate levels. Each winner demonstrates superior mastery of teaching, service to students, and commitment to their ongoing intellectual growth. This year, John was joined by 5 other New Yorkers receiving this award. And whereas the Association of Community College Trustees 2011 Northeast Regional Faculty Member Award recognizes a full-time instructor who has demonstrated excellence in teaching, initiated and helped develop innovative programs, and who has positively affected the community, state, or nation. These impressive recognitions are truly a testament to the dedication John has for MCC students and our community. He is a role model, and we thank him for his commitment to education. Now, therefore, we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Carmen F. Gamina, Legislator District 8, and Mary A. Valerio, Legislator District 3, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate John Waddick on receiving Distinguished Teaching Professor rank and winning the 2011 Northeast Regional Faculty Member Award. Congratulations.
I'd first like to thank Mr. Adair and the entire legislature here for having me. I'll say that over the last 27 years that I've been at the college, it's been an absolute privilege to be able to serve this community. I can't think of a better college where a faculty member can thrive than at Monroe Community College. Faculty members who want to be innovative, get the resources and support that they really need. And lastly, I'll tell you, some of the greatest students that you have in this county come through our doors. I'm really proud of them, and they work really, really hard. Thank you very much.
Would representatives from the Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Debbie Draw and Dan Quattro. Whereas Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists, GROC, is an organization of approximately 175 dues-paying members and many additional volunteers. They are a shared-use trails advocacy group in the Rochester area. They have about 195 members who are concerned with protecting natural resources while providing trail access for mountain bikers in the greater Rochester area. And whereas GROC accomplishes its goals of increasing the participation of mountain cyclists in the trail community by doing trail work, educating riders in safety and sustainable trail design, and working with local cycling industry leaders, government agencies, and other trail user groups. And whereas GROC has worked with the Monroe County Parks Department to conduct a thorough trial period for off-road cycling in Monroe County parks. As an organization, they are dedicated to making shared-use trails in Monroe County parks a beneficial offering both to the biking and non-biking public. And whereas, through their hard work and determination, the Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists have been able to develop shared-use trails for the enjoyment of a wide variety of people in our community. Their focus on education, conservation, and strategic use of natural resources has caused them to be the chief advocacy group for off-road cyclists in Monroe County. Now therefore, we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, E. Daniel Quattro, Majority Leader, and Debbie Draw, Legislator District 9, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Genesee Regional Off-Road Cyclists for their advocacy efforts in sustainable trail construction in Monroe County. Congratulations.
So this is a long way from the last time we were here, but I'd like to thank the legislator for giving us a really great opportunity to help with the parks, and the Parks Department, who has been unbelievably great to work with, and the volunteers. We've had thousands of hours. In the last 2 years, over 4,000 hours put into the parks, and the use of the parks has gone up, and I think that's a great thing for the parks, and it's not just about mountain bikers. There's tons and tons of hikers and runners in there, and we're getting kind of feedback all over the community. So you guys, thanks a lot for giving us a shot.
Would representatives from Made the Same please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Ted O'Brien and Vinny Esposito. Whereas the American Cancer Society estimates that in 2011, about 21,990 new cases will be diagnosed and 15,460 women will die of ovarian cancer in the United States. When this form of cancer is diagnosed and treated in the earliest stages, the 5-year survival rate is over 90%. However, due to ovarian cancer's nonspecific symptoms and lack of early detection tests, only 19% of all cases are found at this early stage. If caught in stage 3 or higher, their survival rate can be as low as 30.6%. And whereas, in loving memory and through the inspiration of Sandra Farmer, 3 young women in Rochester, New York stood up to create more awareness and battle ovarian and cervical cancer head-on. Andrea Stanley, daughter of the late Sandra Farmer, Sarah Bryant, and Holly Pompeitis, the founding and current board members of Made the Same, founded the nonprofit in 2010 and have hit the ground running. And whereas building awareness through education, including a clever Check Your Box campaign, Made the Same volunteers can be seen discussing prevention and treatment for ovarian and cervical cancer at the Rochester Public Market and other public settings. With the spirit, drive, and passion instilled in them from their personal experiences with ovarian cancer, each of these young women have proved to be influential ambassadors to their peers and the Rochester community. Their work will help raise awareness about ovarian and cervical cancer in Monroe County and help save lives. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Ted O'Brien, Democratic Minority Leader, and Vincent J. Esposito, Legislator District 16, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature on this day, do hereby honor Made the Same for their dedication to raising awareness about ovarian and cervical cancer. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. We're really honored to be a part of this evening, and we just hope that if we can help one person get checked and get everything that they need to stay safe and stay healthy, that we've done a good job. So thank you.
Would representatives from the Association of the Blind and Visually Impaired please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Richard A. Beebe and Calvin Lee, Jr. Whereas the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, or ABVI, a leader in the vision rehabilitation field, is celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. ABVI started in 1911 when 4 graduates of the New York State School for the Blind, Jacob Frank, Jess Southworth, James Cowley, and Harry Dudley, decided to form an agency to serve the local population of people who were blind. What was originally just 4 volunteers and 1 paid employee has blossomed into a burgeoning organization that serves more than 4,000 people annually and employs over 500 people, 1/4 of whom are blind or visually impaired. And whereas at their main facility at 422 South Clinton Avenue in Rochester, ABVI's focus is on providing services that are person-centered and use a socially entrepreneurial nonprofit model, which means that the business units they operate exist to forward and fund their mission. The model has brought national recognition to ABVI for its world-class vision rehabilitation and employment programs. And whereas ABVI offers a wide range of services and programs, including their low vision center, orientation and mobility, vision rehabilitation therapy, social work services, technology training, occupational therapy, children's programs, adult recreation programs, as well as social events. ABVI provides access to routine eye care in the community through Vision Care for Kids, which provides free comprehensive eye exams and eyeglasses, as well as Project Eye Care for Adults, which assists in detecting glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, and other potential blinding diseases. And whereas to combat the nearly 70% unemployment rate for this segment of the population, ABVI has created employment opportunities such as manufacturing military apparel for the United States Air Force and Coast Guard, as well as partnering with companies like 3M and Ecolab to produce high-quality products for federal and state government use. Since 1994, ABVI has teamed up with Goodwill Industries International to expand the organization's mission and increase opportunities to provide meaningful employment to people with vision loss. ABVI has worked tirelessly for 100 years to make Monroe County a place where the sky is truly the limit for people who are blind or visually impaired. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Richard A. Beebe, Legislator District 6, and Calvin Lee, Jr., Assistant Minority Leader, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby honor the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired for 100 years of incredible service to this community. Congratulations.
I don't know if this is working well. Hello, everyone. My name is Gidget Hoff. I'm the privileged president and CEO of the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, who each year serves and touches the lives of over 4,000 people, including little Chris Smoker over there with his parents and brother. It's just an honor to be here and to accept this proclamation. Being around for 100 years is pretty significant for an organization, and I'm very proud and privileged to be here at the helm at this very special time in our history. Thank you very much.
There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold a public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mrs. Rozzi.
If you need assistance, a deputy will provide assistance to you when approaching the lectern. Please use the center aisle when your name is called and be prepared to address the legislature. Each speaker will have 2 minutes, and we ask that you conclude when the timer sounds. And we thank you for your cooperation. Our first speaker will be Flo Trippi. Please come forward.
I just signed up, so I thought I'd be last, but that's okay. The last shall be first. My name is Flo Trippi. I serve as the Western Region President of CSEA. That covers a 14-county area in Western New York and about 46,000 CSEA members. Why I'm here tonight is why we've been here for months and months and months and trying to talk to you and trying to get each one of you to talk to the administration of this county. We have a number of employees, about 2,200 of them, who work every day, come to work, are very loyal, are very faithful, and make this county look very good. They serve the citizens well. They do not get a significant amount of money, contrary to the myths that are going on out there that public employees are paid more than private sector. And you know, they keep trying and they keep trying every day, and no matter what happens, nobody is listening to their plea for better wages, and not even better wages, but fair wages, for fair benefits, and to be treated with the respect that they deserve. That's not happening in this county. That is something that CSEA has taken note of, and all of our members have, people that are here tonight, people that were rallying downstairs. This has got to stop, folks. We have got to be able to treat these employees with the respect they deserve. And the only way we're going to do that is by getting this county to sit at the table and to negotiate fairly for a contract for the 2,200 people we represent. That's all we're asking. We are not asking for exorbitant wages. We are not asking for super benefits. What we're asking is just fairness so that these folks can live their lives, support their families, and yes, pay their taxes in this county. So I'm asking again on behalf of the employees that are here. I am an employee of Monroe County, believe it or not, and I have been for over 40 years. So I'm asking that every one of you take note, make sure that our employees are well taken care of, and that make sure that do something to make sure that we get a fair contract. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Paul Forsella.
There are some concerns I, Paul Forsella, would like to bring to the attention of this assembly. Back around March 2011, Mr. Antelli tried to bully me, but I refused to allow this and reported him. And in July 2011, after experiencing some very poor service from the Henrietta Public Library, I tried to speak to John Howland. Since he had been helpful... since he had been helpful in the past. Mr. Howland never returned my calls, and when I was lucky enough to speak to him one evening this past August, Mr. Howland threatened me with the police and with prosecution if I called him again. This is just for trying to speak to him. Both of these people, whatever their exact title, have behaved in a very poor way, and I recommend their superiors give them discipline, and I recommend voters not to vote for them. If John Howland is here tonight, he should know I have complained to the Federal Trade Commission about him, and I would like a sincere apology from Mr. Howland right here and now. What I have said is true and accurate.
Are you finished with your statement now?
I have one more thing to say. I am not out of order. Repeat, not.
Our next speaker will be Thomas Gregory.
I'm going to speak to the restoring accountability to the Monroe County budget motion. You know, I remember back when the county executive first ran, and I remember that she broke a barrier that had existed a long time in this county, being the first female county executive that we've had. And we all celebrated her with confidence, and especially the courage that it took to basically step out and say, well, you know, it's time for women. After all, if you look at the history of Monroe County, that's really been the history of this county. It's a time for women to make a move and make a statement about themselves. And throughout her time as the county executive, I know that she's been transparent and accountable. It doesn't mean that government always goes well. Sometimes you have problems with people who take advantage of government. But in every aspect, this county executive has not only brought budgets that have been balanced without raising the taxes of our citizens, but she's also done it in a public and forthright manner, which quite frankly, when I read the legislator's proposal here, I felt was a kind of a backhanded way of not saying that she's done a good job. I would say that County Executive Brooks has earned our respect. There are two sides of social accountability or social justice, and one side is that side that says we have needs, and this county has always looked to the needs of those people who require the assistance of government. There's another side. It's the side that pays. People who work hard, invest in education, probably still have college loans like myself, and are paying them off like myself, but also have a right to a quality of life. And County Executive Brooks, in my opinion, has found a balance between both sides of our county to provide for those having needs and also protect the rights and interests of individuals who basically also deserve an opportunity to see that a little bit better in life. Therefore, I believe she's been very accountable, she's been very open, she's an excellent county executive, and I hope that we restore her to that position in the upcoming election. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Mary Raymond.
Hi, my name is Mary Raymond, and I work for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office in the Records Unit. I am married with 2 children. My husband works for Kodak, and as of today, he still has a job. My daughter is a teacher with a master's degree, and of course, she cannot find a job anywhere. My son Stephen is presently working towards his bachelor's. Enough about myself. I am here to tell you about my job. The Records Unit is a 365-day, 24-hour unit. Although we are not sworn deputies, the department expects us to adhere to the high standards that our deputies have to follow. We support our road patrol deputies by taking phone calls from them and checking our databases to assist them investigations, and arrests. We check for warrants, any recent contacts the suspect may have had with police, and whatever other assistance we can give them. We have been certified to run file 15s on suspects to see their complete rap sheet. Sometimes it is quite stressful when there is a major incident happening in the county. The most important and sometimes stressful job that we do is entering information into the e-justice portal for our agency and as well as other surrounding agencies when their clerk is not there. Each clerk is certified to enter missing people, stolen guns, stolen vehicles, and many other entries. When a child goes missing, this is when an Amber Alert is so important. We also do a BOLO entry if a robbery or murder has occurred to get as much information as we can to our agencies. Officer safety is the #1 priority, and if a suspect may be possibly armed, we want all police officers to be aware of that before they stop that car. The records unit phone number is in the white pages of the phone book, so of course our phones are constantly busy. We receive a gamut of phone calls from the public. In between all those phone calls, we are responsible for the entering of all criminal and incident reports taken by our deputies and investigators. We are also responsible for entering every accident report into our system and uploading daily accident reports to a database where people can purchase them online. All this paperwork has to go somewhere, right? So we are responsible for the maintaining and filing of all reports and all paperwork received from our deputies and investigators, as well as daily jail paperwork. Thanks for letting me to speak, and it's quite simple. Monroe County works because we do.
Our next speaker is Sister Grace Miller.
We're here tonight for two reasons. One is a couple from the House of Mercy are trying to receive welfare benefits, and they are being given a rough time by the welfare worker, who is expecting or demanding the impossible from them. They were told to turn in a document regarding ownership of property in Florida. And they're here tonight to speak to you. They turned in a document. The worker was dissatisfied with it. They were told to turn in another document. The worker was dissatisfied with it. They were told to turn in a third document. The worker was dissatisfied with it. Now they're asking for a will. There is no will. And the worker is refusing to help them. Is this what you allow at the welfare department? To make things really difficult for people who have nothing, who only want a roof over their heads, food on the table, and medical insurance? And why should they have to struggle and constantly return to the welfare office only to have the worker turn them away? This is unjust. It is not right. And you need to look into it and find out who the worker is. We know who the worker is. We know who the supervisor is. But it's up to you now to find out and follow through on this because it's unjust, it's unfair. The other reason we're here is because of the 12-year-old boy who died on July 8th and was buried 2.5 months later. A grieving mother was kept in agony for 2.5 months because of a policy that Maggie Brooks established saying that poor people have to pay for their own burial. The county gives $1,250 and expect a poor person to come up with almost $3,000 to be buried. Now, what poor person has that kind of money? And yet the expectation is there, and we are asking you to help us to get Maggie Brooks to change that policy. We hear the cries every single day, and practically every minute of the day that we're at the House of Mercy. And people are crying because they cannot pay for a burial. It's up to you to help us to get Maggie Brooks to change that policy. Yes, they say there are people committing fraud, but not all the people are committing fraud. There are people who really and truly do not have the money for a burial, and they cannot cremate a loved one. We're going to ask the mother to come here to speak to you because that mother is grieving and still grieving, crying. My child should be going to school, but my child is dead. My child is not buried yet. And 2.5 months later, pleading the county and the funeral director to please bury this son so the mother could have some peace. You need to look into these cases. They are serious cases, and they are hard cases, harsh cases. So we're asking you to please look into your souls, your hearts and your souls, and have some mercy and compassion on our poor people.
Our next speaker is Chris Safuto.
Hi, everybody. I think this burning bush might be a good sign. Anyways, as you entered the building this evening, you may have noticed there were a few people gathered in support of the Monroe County employees who have no fair contract. These folks were here to let you know that they understand that we do give vital services to this community. However, we are not given the same courtesy as this administration. Yes, we know that the county executive doesn't bash the employees. However, there are other ways to disrespect the employees. And let me tell you this one. It has been brought to my attention that the 2012 salary schedules are out on the county intranet for the MMPs. Those are the management professionals. They're already scheduled even before a budget is voted on to get a 2.5% raise. This means that the MMPs from a group 17 at the top of their steps will be making $36 an hour. And that goes up to a group 33, and at the top of that step is $94 an hour. While the rank and file in CSEA are still going to be making, from a group 1, hired before 2005, $12 per hour. And to a group 16, which is the highest we represent, at $31 an hour. New hires after 2005 will be earning from a group 1 top step $11 an hour, and to a group 16 top step $29 an hour. It is just baffling to me how any one of the members of this elected body can honestly sit back and allow this to happen, while the men and women of this workforce unconditionally do their jobs daily without raises. These are eye-opening figures, and they should open yours too. Is there anyone working for Monroe County that is worth $94 an hour? It's time for you, our representatives, to take a stand and say enough's enough, because at the end of the day, Monroe County works because we do.
Our next speaker is Rita Lewis.
I am here to speak on 2 issues. The 12-year-old who was finally buried more than 2 months after his funeral service. No matter what was reported in the media, the fact of the matter is, if the burial policy had remained the same as it was prior to March 2006, the family, the mother, would have had the youngster buried on the same day as the funeral service. There would have been no delay. The burial policy, which was implemented by Maggie Brooks in March of 2006, has caused great hardship
It has intensified the pain and sorrow of grieving families when it comes to the poor burying their loved ones. The other issue is we at the House of Mercy met recently with the harsh denial of public assistance to a homeless couple. The couple came to Rochester from Florida as they were having a difficult time making it in Florida. They have made every attempt to provide required documentation to DSS. There is one requirement they were not able to provide, even though the information they did provide should have been sufficient. The couple was denied assistance, and that meant they were also denied emergency housing. And on top of that, the worker refused to give them a notice in writing of the denial so that they could then proceed to appeal the denial. The worker refused to give it in writing to them. So how cruel is this treatment of the poor? What is going on? Why is there such harsh regulations and denials being meted out by DSS? Especially given the fact that the economy is struggling, people are struggling, there is high unemployment. So what are the poor supposed to do? Do you care what happens to them? If you do care, I ask that you administer public assistance in a compassionate fashion to provide basic needs for our poor in our community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Donaldson.
Good evening. My name is John Donaldson. You know, me and my wife, we are the couple that Sister Grace was talking about. You know, we come down from Florida 2 months ago, and we went through DSS to try to get help because, see, the thing about it, what they do, they're supposed to help you get a job, you know, to get on your feet and stuff like that. So for 2 months, they've been giving us the runaround, and they told us, they said that, well, we had to get 3 documents. We got the first one. The young lady said, well, that wasn't what she wanted. Okay, then she told us, she said, well, you had to have something that showed that your name wasn't on any property. Okay, so we called down in Florida, we got that. Then she said, well, that's not enough. Okay, then we went back and we went to the unemployment office here, and we went and got a fax letter from the lawyer, took it up there. She said, no, that wasn't enough. So she told us, she said, well, I'm going to have to close your case out. So what she did was, our case was closed, and me and my wife, we had to go to Salvation Army. Okay, they put us up. They told us they can only give us 7 days at the Cadillac. That's until Friday. Now, my thing is, you know, I'm not here to complain, but what I am here to say is this. I don't think it's right for people to, you know, because if you come from another state to try to come down here and get a job and stuff, you know, get on your feet. I don't think that's right for people to treat you like that. And I didn't expect for me and my wife to go through that when we got here. So we've been dealing with that for 2 months, and we still haven't got it straight now. Now, Friday, I don't know what we got to do Friday because we just got the deed faxed from Florida. Just came today, so we got to find out what we got to do, you know, with that. But my thing is this: what use to complain about it if there's nothing not going to be done about it? So my thing is, you know, we looking to get a job, you know, to try to get on our feet, you know, to try to, you know, but it's just bad the way people treat people when they see you down and they don't want to do nothing to help you. And I tell you, I mean, it's just sad. So I wouldn't recommend my brothers and sisters to come up here. If they mistreat me, they're going to do them the same way. Thank you, and God bless you.
Our next speaker is Nathaniel Underwood.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Nate Underwood, and I'm here to address the member of the county ledge because I'm very concerned about the poor people being denied help at the welfare office. It seems like we have people that goes down to the welfare office and stand in them long lines to get, try to get on, and the workers have you run around doing this and that. When you don't have the money to do all that running around, you don't have ways of no kind of transportation unless you catch the bus or something. So in other words, you got to get up early in the morning to get started to do what you got to do, basically walk or ride a bicycle or something, or however you can get there. The thing is, if you don't comply with them in so much time, they ain't too, don't have no trouble sanctioning you, no matter what the problem is or what the situation is. People are hurting and people are struggling, So in the way things is today in the world, everybody's in a financial crisis. There ain't hardly no jobs, ain't no money. People that go to school and college with an education are out of work, So what can we do to resolve this population between us as poor people against, people that supposed to help us? Now, we goes down there and do the best we can, and they try to help us so much, but they give you a lot of runaround, and some of it's a lot of rhetoric, and sometimes it make people that's not doing good, who ain't got good self-esteem, lose their value of, they just give up, because they say, why should I go through this, because I'm poor, So I wanted to know as y'all's people, y'all finna get reelected and stuff this November coming up. What y'all gonna do for the poor people that comes out and vote for y'all? What y'all gonna do for the people who need help at a time when it's hard times for real? What are y'all gonna do for people like me or people that's behind me, our future, that's struggling with these same, issues? I just wanna know what y'all gonna do. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Shaquan Woods.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shaquan Woods. I am a mother of 2, about to be a mother of 3. I'm here to talk about the welfare case because I went to welfare a couple months ago and I got denied. And I'm tired of going to welfare and getting denied. I stand in this line, I wait. They give me an appointment paper, and then they tell me, oh, we can't help you with this. They deny my case. I have a mother at home that is 77 years old. I am 22 years old, and I still stay with my mom. She needs all the help she can get with my daughter and my nephew. My daughter is 4, and my nephew is 5, soon to be 6 in November. They denied her of child support, and they cut off all she was getting to help my daughter and my nephew. And I'm wondering, why do these people act the way they do towards us? We do not need this type of act that they're doing towards us. We need all the help we can get. So if anything that anybody can do, let me know, and please do something to help these people and to help us so they can stop denying us of this welfare, especially me, about to become a mother of another child. I need all the help I can get, and if you can try and help me fight this, please do what you can do. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
At this time, we'll recess the October 11th, 2011 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature for the purpose of convening the Pure Waters Administration Board for the Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District. The clerk will please note the attendance and read the items on the agenda.
PWAB number 1, referral 11-224, authorizing contracts.
Moved by Legislator Cassetti, second by Legislator Daniele. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. We'll now recess the Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administration Board. October 11th, 2011 meeting of the Legislature will now reconvene. We will continue now with the considerations of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk please read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 11-212, appointment.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, second by Legislator Howland. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing there is none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 2, referral 11-216, accepting grant from New York.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 3, referral 11-217, accepting grant from Southern.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 4, referral 11-218, accepting grant from New York State.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 5, referral 11-219, accepting grant from New York State.
Moved by Legislator Draw, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 6, referral 11-220, accepting grant.
Moved by Legislator Draw, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing there's none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 7, referral 11-
Moved by Legislator Draw, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 8, referral 11-222, accepting.
Moved by Legislator Draw, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 9, referral 11-223, authorizing contracts.
Moved by Legislator Cassetti, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 10, referral 11-225, authorizing contracts with.
Moved by Legislator Cassetti, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 11, referral 226, accepting grant.
Moved by Legislator Robert Colby, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 12, referral 11-227, authorizing.
Moved by Legislator Colby, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 13, referral 11-228, authorizing advertisement for bids.
Moved by Legislator Robert Colby, second by Legislator Daniele. Is there any discussion at this time? Legislator Haney.
Mr. President, there seems to be a feedback in the audio loop, and I'm wondering if we could do something.
I believe you are correct. There is one. I'm hearing it up here, Paul, but I was just thinking there was something that was happening tonight.
Yeah, no, it's...
Okay. Yeah.
There you go. You're up too low. You're off.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, boy. All righty, is there any other questions, Legislator Haney? No, not, okay. Being none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 14, referral 11-229, approving and adopting.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 15, referral 11-229, providing that resolution.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is a tabling motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The item carries.
Item number 15, referral 11-229.
16. We're at 16.
Oh, excuse me. Item number 16, referral 11-229, fixing a public hearing on resolution intro number.
Moved by Legislator Hanna, second by Legislator Draw. This is to set the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The item carries.
Item number 17, referral 11-230, directing the refund.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, second by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries.
Item number 18, referral 11-249, amending resolution 184 of 2010.
Moved by Legislator Quattro, second by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Legislator Lightfoot.
Yes, sir. Through you, Mr. President. Don't know if there has to be, point of question is, there has to be an amendment to the amendment, but since this might seem small to some, but this is dealing with financial matters, and my name is spelled incorrectly. It's William, I'm Willie, and I know this deals with retirement, so I'd like to get it. So through you, Mr. President, if there's have to be an amendment to the amendment to correct the correct spelling of my name, please.
May I answer that? It will be corrected, all right? We'll take care of it. We don't need an amendment. We got that all set? Okay, good. Is there any other discussion at this time? Sorry about that. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Is there any unfinished business to come before this body tonight?
Mr. President.
Legislator Haney.
Mr. President, last Friday morning, I submitted by the 10 a.m. deadline legislation which I requested be treated as a matter of urgency, calling for an investigatory committee to be named to investigate the situation involving Upstate Telecommunications, Inc. I don't see it on this evening's agenda. I'm sure that's an oversight. And I'm wondering what the status of that is.
The status on that is that you will be receiving a letter tomorrow, as we do with all the referrals that were put in that will not be on the agenda, and you'll get the explanation tomorrow.
So, Mr. President, I assume that means it was rejected?
It was rejected as a matter of urgency. That is correct.
Mr. President, in the last few weeks, as everyone in this chamber is well aware,
I believe the discussion's out of order. There's no motion on the floor. The question's been answered. So, point of order, I believe.
Well, I have the intention of putting a motion on the floor, Mr. President.
Then we need a motion on the floor.
All right. Let's move to the motion. Pursuant to Section 545-24A4 of the County Charter, I move that we take up for consideration at this time my proposal entitled Instituting a Legislative
Point of order, Mr. President. The motion's out of order. Any motion now to be considered would be a motion to suspend the rules.
Our rules do provide for a two-thirds vote to add to the agenda.
When you suspend the rules. Is that what the motion's going to be? Mr. Legislator Haney?
Yes.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules on the floor?
I assume that's where he's going to go at this point. Legislator Haney?
Yes.
Are you moving to a motion to suspend the rules?
Yes, to bring...
I need a second on that. Second on Legislator Lightfoot.
Roll call vote, Mr.
We'll move
President.
to a roll call vote.
Dr. Quattro?
No.
Mr. O'Brien?
Just a point of information.
Mr. O'Brien?
I just want to know what we're voting on. We're voting on whether or not.
To
A motion
suspend the
to
rules.
suspend the
Suspend the
rules.
rules. I would vote yes.
Ms. Andrews? Yes. Mr. Antelli? Mr. Barker? Mr. Baroth? Mr. Beebe? Mr. Cassetti? Mr. Colby? Mr. Daniele? Mrs. Draw? Mr. Eckel? Mr. Esposito? Mr. Gamble? Mr. Gamina? Mr. Haney? Mr. Hanna? Mr. Hyder is excused. Mr. Howland? Ms. Kaylee? Mr. Lee? Mr. Lightfoot? Mr. Monero? Mr. McCann? Mr. Rocco? Mr. Tucciarello? Mrs. Valerio? Mr. Yolovich? President Adair?
No.
12 to 16, motion to suspend the rules fails.
Is there any other unfinished business to come before this matter body tonight? Legislator Haney.
Through you, Mr. President, I have a couple of questions I'd like to address to the administration. The first question is that on September the 29th, that members of the Democratic Caucus sent to the administration a list of questions related to the upstate telecommunications matter, requesting a response by October the 6th, which was a week later. As of this date, we've not received a response, and I'm wondering what the status of the request that we submitted was, or is.
Mr. President, we did receive the letter that Legislator Haney refers to. We are still working on preparing that response. As Mr. Haney knows, it was a rather detailed response, 3 pages, as I recall, single-spaced with a variety of requests. So we are still working on that.
Through you, Mr. President, when may I expect a response?
Mr. President, I would hesitate to give a specific date, but we will provide it as soon as it is ready.
Well, Mr. President, a couple of the questions that were on that letter were relatively simple.
The discussion is out of order. There simply is no item of business on our agenda. The motion to suspend the rules has failed, so the questions are out of order.
To the point of order, Mr. President, he's asked for information that he submitted. I think what Mr. Haney is getting to is perhaps that some of the information, although maybe it's a detailed request, but some of the information can be parsed out and provided in advance.
I'm going to deny. I'm in favor of the point of order, and I'll tell you what I believe here's the issue is that it wasn't asked that way either. It was asked as where he was with and I think he provided that information to us. I don't believe that there was a second question to that point. If we do move to a second question on this, then you're going to have to go for another motion.
It's on the point of order, Mr. President.
Yeah, to the point of order, I think what Mr. Haney hadn't been given a chance was getting to the point of saying that perhaps some of the information is rather simple, and those questions perhaps could be provided more timely, because this is a matter of great importance to many of us in the legislature.
Perhaps it would be easier, Mr. President, if Mr. Haney sent a letter to the administration outlining the easy questions. That notwithstanding, there's no item on the floor, so the discussion's out of order.
My understanding, Mr. President, of miscellaneous business is that it's a time when members of the legislature can ask questions about important and pertinent matters that are before this county.
Asked and asked, Mr. President. This discussion's out of order. Roll call vote on the motion on the point of order, please.
That's absurd, Mr. President.
Roll call vote on the point of order. It's Mr. Haney's point of order.
Right.
Okay. All right. Fine. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Move on. Okay. Is there any other unfinished business to come before this body tonight? Legislator O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you for for an update to the administration. There have been a number of counties all over the state. I think virtually every county that has an elected county executive now has been able to provide at least the proposed 2012 budget. And so establishing the fact that we could have budget information, every county but one with an elected county executive has one. And I'm wondering through you, Mr. President, if we can get an update as to when financial information and the budget information will be available to us, which is so critical to the people in this community to understand and for us as a legislative body to get. In fact, many of the legislative bodies around the state have already not only had the budget submitted, but have in fact adopted their 2012 budgets. And Monroe County needs to be able to do the same.
Questions out of order, Mr. President. Statute in our charter dictates when the budget's going to be submitted. It's up to the county executive whether she's going to release that early or not, regardless of what other counties are doing. So the question's out of order.
Well, the question's not out of it's up to the county executive. What we're looking for is for the administration to give us some input as to when that might be.
I think the question's really out of order, Mr. O'Brien. I don't see why we have our rules here.
No, I understand Dr. Quattro's point is that the county executive can
Hold
have
on,
until...
I need a ruling from the chair, Mr. President, on my paper.
But really, I mean,
it's out of order.
every county in the state does it. We just want to know when we're going to be able to have the same advantage as other counties.
The state was jumping off a bridge, Mr. President. That doesn't mean that we would.
No, it certainly
Roll
doesn't,
call
but
vote on the
these are
point of order,
important.
Mr. President.
I am for the point of order, so I don't know that there's a need. I haven't heard an appeal from anybody at this point.
Right.
Is there any?
I'm just asking it through you to the administration whether or not we can get an update on when we might see some budget information.
What is doing?
Mr. President, I would only offer to the legislator, as we have said before, that the budget will be submitted before the deadline established by the charter when it's ready.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Thank you. Legislator Haney.
Mr. President, when we changed the charter to push back the submission date, it was because the state legislature had been in a chronic habit
President,
of
the
adopting
discussion
very late
is
budgets.
just
My
simply
question is,
out
why
of order.
is the budget being hidden from the voters
The
of this
question
county?
and the comments are out of
Legislator
order.
Haney, the comments are out of order.
Correct.
Well, it's a simple question.
Legislator Haney, the comments are out of order. Is there any other discussion tonight?
Mr. President, I move that this honorable body stand adjourned until Tuesday, November 15th, 2011 at 6 p.m.